Alrighty, so GDC is essentially over, right? We have that little coin issue, but that is not what this video is going to be about today. Today, I want to talk about everything involving GDC, from the units to the content, and give my overall thoughts on it. Now, this isn't going to be a video that is highly centered on ranting or saying negative things. I think they did a lot of good things during this global Dokkan campaign, and that is the aim of today's video, to just talk about it. So first, we're going to start with the content, the events, talk about my thoughts on them, the overall meta shift that we saw, then sort of go over the characters in question, the EZAs, the Summonable releases, the Super EZAs, and then sort of just round it out with my overall thoughts on the campaign as a whole. So if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and watch this video all the way through. We greatly appreciate it. And with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first stuff, which is going to be the difficult events. I think these are some of the most important things and the most memorable things from a celebration. Now, what we saw were stages from the Seriously Serious fight had updates. The Divine Wrath and Mortal Will got updates to that event in specific. I'm just trying to find it up here. If we look for Divine Wrath and Mortal Will, this got updates. We have a new Blue Zone. We have a clone event. We have the Choice Battle, the Special Battle, the Infinite Zamasu fights, right? The Perfect Cooperation. Lots of different events that got new updates. So with Seriously Serious, I think that these are pretty fun. Just different fights, right? And they like to get a little bit crazy with the missions here. I think this one, there is a STR mission. I don't think it's specifically in here overall. It was in the extraordinary missions or whatever they call those. And that is sort of like where that is. But I think that these stages were actually handled pretty well. I thought that the Trunks fight here in specific was pretty fun. It had a pretty hard hitting super with the attack being up, right? Like you can raise up his attack by 200% and stuff like that, and he could end up hitting you pretty hard, especially with these difficult category missions. I think it added some extra difficulty on top, and overall, I think this was a pretty good fight. Nothing to write home about. Could be a little bit tricky, and again, being able to predict where things are going to be. This guy, he was just a funny guy with the way that he was supering and stuff like that. But with this Super Boo, there were some pretty tricky missions here with this guy as well. He had some annoying healing, and he could hit you pretty hard, as well as there being a mono STR mission. I think that did lead for some pretty interesting runs as well, and this was a pretty fun fight, right? I don't think, again, it's anything to write home about. Again, this is just one of those fights that comes down to it being difficult from a sense of, you know, it was like it just had some artificial difficulty with like category missions and things like that. So Seriously Serious, nothing too insane in terms of content, right? The meta was never shifted around these. We weren't really considering this for unit rankings or anything like that. But again, extra content here. The did give out some okay Dragon Stones. This is like 18 here. And then there were some extra missions in between. So with the first time clear, just a nice little 20 stones here from this event. Nothing to complain about. Next up, we have the Divine Wrath and Mortal Will boss rushes. I thought these were okay. Again, the case here for most of these fights is going to be like not too much to write home about, but they did have some pretty hard-hitting supers. 7 million right here, 4 million, 4.8 million, or 4.4, 4.8 right here. Some pretty good fights to sort of gauge the part 1 characters, and I thought that this did lead to some pretty fun gameplay, right? Again, these were nice for getting the tickets, and I think what they did really well here with these is they didn't force you to finish the entire thing to get the tickets. So if you were somebody who was maybe struggling, and if you just beat the first phase, then you came back later and tried to beat it when you had a better team, that was like sort of the overall like benefit from doing that. So being able to get this right here, getting the both of the boss rushes, I thought was pretty cool. Pretty hard hitting supers, and I like the way that they designed these. And we have how many stones would there be in here? A pretty decent amount, right? So this was last or 2 years ago, and then we have 4, 8, 12, so 16 stones right here, an EZA for a support memory. Very nice. I thought that this was a pretty fun event. Nothing to really complain about in this specific setting here. Now, we'll talk about this a little later. I didn't really want to talk about this just yet. But if we look here, the Gogeta clones, this was another event that they added during the celebration. I thought this was really fun. This was a whole new take on the way that things really work in the game. And what made this so much fun, we don't really even need to look at the boss stats. This is just a unique way that they gave us to play the game. It has nothing to do with getting like the bar. This did not reset the meta. Rankings were not considered with this event in mind, but it did give players an opportunity to have unique strategies to take out the specific clone that they needed to take out. The process of identifying the clone was fun. And things like that. And it was a really good time for just like getting a really funny like screenshot of the matter, right? I always kind of just laughed at the idea of like, you guys know what I'm talking about, where we had the extra, like when you hit the clones and stuff like that, then you went into the next turn and there were like 60 hits that your characters were taking, right? And then potentially what you could do with that is then set up Tech Vegito with his taunt and then just have like this insane turn where he was built up to levels that he's just not supposed to go to in terms of his taunt. So I thought that was very, very funny. And just overall, like not too much to complain about here, right? This was not an event that players were considering for difficult content. This was not an event that players were using to rank characters. It was just something fun to play, and trying to figure out where the clone was, I thought was a really good idea. Next up, we have the Dokkan Ultimate Player's Choice Battle. And this one, 14 Dragonstones is 14 Dragonstones, right? That is sort of where things are interesting, right? I haven't really thought too much about this stage in particular. The HP was pretty low. 600 million these days is not that much when characters can open up the gate at 90 million super attacks on like the Omega Shenron team. So not really anything too crazy. But again, what I really like. So what was bad about this was just how easy it was. But what was good about it was it put control in the player's hands in terms of how do we want a fight designed. They did a poll and players said we want shorter events that allow us to use items, if I'm not mistaken. They put out a poll on this, and this was the result, where JP was a lot more in the favor of like short or like fights that make us test our strength with no items. And this isn't like a JP elitism taker or anything, but the percentage was a little bit different between both versions, where global players had some more like, yeah, I want to use items, which is fine, really. I don't care about items personally. So I just thought it was a fun take on how to do difficult content, right? Akatsuki's like, we receive negative feedback on the content we design all the time. How about you guys pick how this event is going to be? So I take it they had two potential designs for this one. Might have been a little bit closer to the Festival of Battles if the other result had won. And this is just a W community interaction here for Dokkan, so really can't say too much negative about it other than the fact that it just wasn't that hard, right? Just compared to some of the other content, that was definitely not the most difficult thing that they've updated. So let's talk about the special battle. This is a big one, right? This, I think, was their best work in terms of the difficult content. I am not a fan of locking bosses. I think that I'm speaking for a lot of players, and that's not like a bold take that you can only find on the Vilify YouTube channel, right? Wow. I'm trying to self-plug and I'm stuttering, but which you should subscribe to, right? You want to subscribe to the Vilify channel. That's what you want to do. It would greatly help me. So what we want to talk about here is this fight in specific. I think that this was like, for a difficult fight, it's well designed. It's just very annoying. If this fight didn't have this, I would like it a lot more. But I think this was probably just pound for pound the most difficult fight that they dropped that didn't feel like unfair. And we'll talk more about that later. I just think that they did a really good job, right? All of these fights have areas where you can get caught. They gave you special equipment for your characters, the summonable LRs, and all of that fun stuff. And I think that is sort of how they should do it. Extra Dragonstones, good orbs. And if you, like, let's just potentially put you in a situation here, right? If you're somebody that is struggling to beat Super 3, the main reward is not the 3 Dragonstones, it's this. But if your character is unable to use this gold slot, then come back and do it later, right? That's the beauty of it. This event is not going away. So I think that was really well designed. You can clear it on an easier difficulty and get the essential skill orbs for the character, get some Dragonstones, and you're good to go. And if you want to challenge yourself, the Super 3 difficulty for all of these stages was pretty tricky. I think the easiest of the bunch was this Goku and Vegeta fight, but even that one is still pretty tricky. The Super in slot 1 is very consistent, and I believe it seals you. It stuns you, excuse me, and that stun was very annoying. So a 4.8 million super that has the chance to stun, very much a pain in the ass. And then you have the Gogeta fight here where the supers are in a very predictable spot, but they hit extremely hard and they are tough to get around. So this, I think, was their best work in terms of the difficult content for sure. I really liked where this one was heading and the direction that they went with for the content. So Special Battle gets the Vilify thumbs up. I think this was really fun. The concept of getting the extra skill orbs for your units that you just pulled, very good. You didn't have to beat it on the hardest difficulty if you didn't have the gold slot and you wanted to run the character at the max potential. I think that was a good design choice. I think the orbs could have been maybe a little bit better. Like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, additional and attack is fine, but you don't really need the attack. And the additional, he's doing so many as passive, so many additionals in his passive. I think a dodge would have been a little bit better in this spot, but and like additional and crit here for Omega, right? Like it's okay, but overall, I think again for difficult content, this was probably their best work. Next up, another unique fight, the universe distorting Justice and Order fight against Infinite Zamasu. This was an interesting one, right? This had a challenge for players if they wanted to do it. 1.4 billion HP and an AoE super. If you want to go ahead and no item that, you can. Or if you just want to get the clear, you can go ahead and call Zeno and take care of it. I love the immersion that this fight provides, where you have seemingly an invincible opponent in the Infinite Zamasu, right? That is why, I mean, that's why they call it Infinite Zamasu, right? Doesn't matter what you do. It just comes down to like just having fun with it. You can challenge yourself, you can get through the clear without using the items, and you're good to go, right? That is what makes this such a fun fight. So not even such a fun fight, but such an immersive fight that I think that Dokkan it's not easy to immerse yourself into the game, but I think this fight does a pretty good job of it. You are up against Infinite Zamasu. You have Gowasu and Supreme Kai talking to each other, like, what are we going to do? Goku's like, I got this. And then you press the Zeno button. And despite you not being able to take out Zamasu in that turn, Zeno shows up and erases Zamasu. So it feels straight out of the anime and stuff like that. And I think that's really fun. It's not a... Again, it's not a fight I'm going to be coming back and replaying an infinite amount of times, no pun intended, but it is something that is sort of just a fun experience that you can't really replicate too often in this game, where you really do feel like you're part of the series in that specific moment based on the dialogue, based on the way they want you to clear it. Maybe that's a little bit of glaze, but I do think it's pretty fun. So Infinite Zamasu gets a W from me. Next up, we have the perfect cooperation team battle. With this one, the Gotenks fight was crazy. This fight gave me some trouble. I'm not going to lie. It was this right here. Like the extra attack and the ability to crit. This fight gave me some trouble. I think this was a really fun fight that was not easy. And I like that for most of these fights in here. Nothing too crazy, right? In terms of like where the bar is, but we get extra skill orbs, we get dragon stones, wallpaper. This one was definitely a W. I liked this event for sure. I think the difficult content during this celebration was handled pretty well for the most part, but let's talk about one that I did not like. And that is going to be the Gohan, Goten, and Trunks. Not even the Gohan, Goten, and Trunks fight, but more specifically, these two fights right here. I didn't like these. And that's okay. Like it's not because I couldn't clear them. I have videos on a video on the, I don't think I did one for the Trunks stage, but the Omega team, no item, both of them, right? I don't think it's just like really like anything I need to lie about. But I think this was just too aggressive, and there are ways to get around it, but I don't like the way that these fights treated the characters that we were summoning for. Goku and Vegeta could get around it with dodging, right? That's fine. But a normal would probably take them out. A super would take them out, right? Every single headliner cannot deal with these supers. And I really just don't think that is proper unit design. I don't think that's proper difficult content design, because if they are doing difficult content the way that they want to do it, in my opinion, it should be, you know, the headliners should dominate it there, right? They shouldn't be just them, but I don't want to run into a situation where this guy doesn't feel good to use in there, this guy doesn't feel good to use in there, and then the other two headliners being like the Rose Goku Black and then the Vegeta and Goku. The only character that to me that even felt relatively safe in some of these fights was just like Goku and Vegeta for their ability to dodge. And I just didn't really like enjoy having to force myself to put, you know, Texan Shenron slot 1 and then just hope that he doesn't super, because the super would still catch him, right? So it's like pretty fun and challenging fight, but I just don't think that the way that they handled the summonable headliners feeling pretty weak in there, I was not really a fan of. But the overall like difficulty of the content, I just think the power creep was a little too aggressive, but that is okay, right? These things happen. I think this fight was much more fun. The Gohan, Goten, and Trunks one. Goten and Trunks were a tough character to get through, right? But being able to see where the actions are and predict the supers is always fun. And this is something you can do on dokkaninfo.com. This isn't partnered or anything. It's just this is the website that I use for looking at what difficult bosses do, right? This is just a really good overall website. It has a ton of tools and stuff like that. Again, I'm not being paid to say that. I really do think this is a very good website, right? You guys see me using it in the videos all the time. So when it comes to the difficult content, I think it had some very high and some pretty low lows. But let's quickly talk about some of the story events that we had. Now, why am I talking about story events, you may be asking? It's because we got three main things here that I want to talk about. The Popo event returned, which is a W. We got two amazing free-to-play sets of things here, and those are what we're going to talk about. The Popo event, always a big W, right? Being able to progress your characters and link level them very fast. The Proof of Mastery, giving tickets, stones, exclusive orbs. Just a very, very, very good event here. Always a W. And then when we look at the Rose clone team, this is one of the most generous things they've done in terms of free-to-play units. A real free-to-play team that is crazy, right? If you pulled, like, say you were a newer player, your first multi, you pulled Rose, and then you went and farmed up these clones, you had a team that could beat almost every single event in the game right off the bat. This was an extremely well-designed event. I think if I could go back in time, this was like, I didn't like the way that they had you get to phase 4. I think it was too confusing for players that maybe have never played the game before, but you didn't have to do the phase 4 if you really didn't want to. You could still farm up the team the old-fashioned way, right? The 97-year-old Dokkan team still serves Coke the old-fashioned way, right? You could definitely just farm up these characters and stuff like that, and it would still work out pretty well. So that is good. I like the way that they designed this in terms of just giving you a free-to-play team that was absolutely insane, basically right off the bat, right? This is really good. Very rare that they do this. You think about like free-to-play teams, you got the Team Bardock, the Captain Ginyu squad, or the Ginyu Force squad, excuse me. And you have the Saiyan Saga free team you get for logging in, and then you have the clones. And the clones were easily the best of the bunch. Then when it comes to Nova Shenron, he fits extremely well on the Omega base team, and that's pretty good. So, you know, I think when it comes to like taking normals, this guy could be a bit suspect, but really good free-to-play character, right? All things considered, I think they did a good job. So when it comes to content, we had really good difficult events, generous free-to-play teams, extra story events, good things like that, weekly stone collecting missions and stuff like that gave us a lot of extra dragon stones. And it really did sort of live up to the level of content, in my opinion, of like an anniversary where we had multiple story events to do, extra difficult content, lots of difficult content, lots of shifts in the way the difficult content played, and I think overall that was really fun. Now, let's talk about some of the EZAs that came from GDC. So first and foremost, these two are not part of GDC, so we're not going to be talking about them, and we're not going to do like in-depth breakdowns for every character or anything like that. But looking at the EZAs, we can start with Fusion Zamasu. I thought Fusion Zamasu is very good, but should have been a little bit better for slot 1 capability, because that really could have helped the Super Bosses team and where Future Saga potentially could be in the future. I think this guy has potential to age pretty well, but that is really about it. I think he is pretty good, though. Does okay damage, has okay defense, but nothing too crazy, especially with just how power creep shifted during GDC. Next up, we have Baby and Super Saiyan 3 Goku. It's just impossible to gauge these guys. You can't use them, right? Really good kits, but you just can't use them. And that's what it comes down to. Can't really give that a stamp of approval. I think Pan and this Trunks are really good on the GT Heroes team. If you don't have the banner unit Pan, this Pan's going to fit in just fine for you. Very good unit. Super Saiyan 3 Goku, I need to use him a little bit more, but I think compared to Pan and Trunks, I'd rather just run Pan and Trunks, and then Super Saiyan 3 Goku just doesn't really have a spot for me in terms of the GT Hero team, but he is pretty good, obviously. Sin Shenron and the Legion of Shadow Dragons are amazing EZAs that work extremely well on the Omega Shenron team. So definitely really good characters and extremely well-handled EZAs. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, I think, is very good. Vegeta and Trunks are a bit polarizing in terms of what you're looking for from an EZA, where you want to put them in slot 1, and even in slot 1 in some of this new content, they still get tossed. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan was pleasantly surprising. I think he was extremely well designed, right? Maybe he should have kept his permanent 30% damage reduction, in my opinion, but they did a very good job of resurrecting this character, and he is just a really fun unit. So EZAs, I'd say overall, are more on the positive side. I think there definitely could have been some improvements with a few of the EZAs, but overall, I really like the way that they handled them. Now, if we look at the Super EZAs, this is where things get a little bit more fun, right? I don't know what's going on here, but that's okay. Free-to-play Super EZA, not too much to talk about. I thought he was decent, but nothing too crazy. Physical Vegito Blue, I think is very good. I wish he would have been a little better for like the Rose and Zamasu fight, but unfortunately, him countering Rose means you're going to be buffing him early, and that is definitely not something you're looking for. When it comes to Rose Goku Black, I like it. He is very good. It fits in on the Omega team. I really like the way that he supports. He fits on the teams that he needs to be on, and he is an elite option on those teams. STR Omega Shenron, extremely well designed for the Omega Shenron team. Just the combination of attack lowering and defensive lowering that you're able to do on the boss, the attack lowering being more prominent. It's very hard for the boss to sort of get through and things like that, and I really like the way that he is designed. I think Super Saiyan 4 Goku is an extremely well done Super EZA as well. When it comes to this Vegeta, he stinks. And then Mighty Mask is also a very good Super EZA. So Super EZAs, again, get a thumbs up. There's a lot of really good things here from this batch of EZAs and Super EZAs. So now we get to talk about the fun stuff, right? Where do we have our base characters? We have our 4 summonable LRs. And this is where things get tricky, right? We've got Gohan, Omega. They don't even get tricky. They're all really good. I don't even know why I said tricky, right? These are all really good units. I think Gohan could have been a little bit better with having the category restriction is a bit annoying. The rainbow orbs thing, the int orbs thing, it's just tricky. And I think he's really good, right? I have like not a lot of negative things to say about the character. I think individually his kit is extremely impressive. It just comes down to the restriction, but I think it's very easy for him to get it, and he is extremely good. Omega has a team that was like perfectly designed to take on some of this new content. And when it comes to like negatives, it's really tough to say where it comes from, right? I guess like his intro buff, like in not being able to include super class characters, but who cares about that, right? You're not running super class characters on those 3 teams. So it doesn't even really matter. It's like if you're running like an off-lead UI Goku or something in a specific event, that could be a problem, but realistically, it's not going to be a problem for you. So this character, I think, is extremely, extremely well designed. This is exactly what we needed for an extreme class unit and the counterpart to Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, because when it comes to the banner that people were going to summon on between these two, we all know who everybody was going for first. So this guy, extremely well done. I really like the way that he was designed. I think Gogeta 4 is extremely good. I really wish, just when it comes to like what I don't like, I wish he would have just gotten extra defense on Super. But like he has the 50% damage reduction and the guard right here, which is obviously very good. We have the intro buff here with the support. We have effective against all types, guaranteed supers, getting extra attack, extra defense when receiving supers, the chance to counter. Very well designed unit and gave us the best animations in the game's history. And that is one of the most important things about the game, right? What is a visual spectacle? What makes it fun? That is one of the things that makes it fun. And Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta was the perfect pick to bring the hype in when we had sort of the disappointment on the hype level from Goku and Vegeta. This guy came in and saved us in terms of like the hype. They brought it with the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Now, who could have predicted 12 million turn or 12 million, 11 million turn 1 supers during the that blue zone that they added, or the Supreme Magnificent Battle, right? I think that definitely was a bit of a surprise, but this Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, to me, extremely fun unit. And I'm super grateful that they added him into the game. Now, Rose, Goku Black, and Zamasu. Super Bosses just needs help, but this character is amazing. Really like the way that they're designed, and it's going to be the same thing here for probably the best unit in the game right now, this blue Goku and Vegeta, just with their slot 1 dodge potential and the damage reduction that they have as well. This is just an extremely well-designed unit, and I think that they did a great job of making 5 arguably ranked characters, where you can put this guy at 1, you could put this guy at 1 if you want, you can put this guy at 1 if you want. I don't see these guys at number 1 right now, but they're still very good. I think all of these characters are the top 5 right now, and that should be their aim for how they design content. I think this was an extremely well-designed batch of LRs, and that is what they needed to be. You wanted to have all of them on your squad, and there really was no, or in your account, and there was like no lack of like wanting to have them, right? And I think that's really good. That's what they should be aiming to do. And overall, that just makes for a quality set of GDC characters. So when it comes to content and characters, I think they did an extremely good job this year, during GDC. Again, there are going to be flaws in every character, but I think that just in terms of like this makeup of a celebration, they did a good job. Are there negative things? Yes. I think content pacing is always going to be an issue. This is just how they do things. I think it has to do with incentivizing players to buy Dragon Stones, because at the end of the day, that is goal number one, first and foremost. Do you know how you incentivize players to buy stones? You do 2 really good units right here, and then you surprise everybody and drop the coolest unit ever in part 2, where it's like, oh my God, this is the most insane LR ever. I love his art. I love his animations. Gogeta is my GOAT, all these things, right? And that's where they do it. And I think that they definitely they probably succeeded in what they're aiming to do there. But the last thing I want to talk about is the banners, and then I can let you guys go. So when it comes to the summonable banners that we had for GDC, I think there was some good. I think there was some bad. That is how it goes, right? This is the formula that Dokkan has had for years, and it's just always how it's going to be. So if we could just pull up all these fun banners here, and we got a lot of tabs. We can close out a lot of these tabs. La, 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 la. So first up, the Omega Shenron banner. I thought this banner was spectacular. You have Tech Vegito, you have Omega Shenron, you have the Gogeta 4 EZA, a very good Super EZA in Buhan, you have the Super Saiyan 4s, and that is just an overall really, really good banner. There's always going to be some negatives to a banner. Usually they don't go 10 for 10 on the featured units, and that is by design. Pan, very good banner unit. The 2 Brolys are a little dated, and Fusion Zamasu is just okay. Can work on the Super Bosses team in like very small bursts of short content. I do think that can potentially work. Now, if we look at the Legendary Summon Carnival for Gogeta, I think this was also a pretty good banner, all things considered. All 6 of these Carnival LRs are okay, at the very least, right? This Omega works well on the GT Bosses team. These guys are a bit dated, but like they're a fun character, right? This being and this guy right here as well. I think he's a bit of an L, but like the featured SSRs aren't bad. This Trunks was pretty good. This Goku was okay. This Baby was all right where you could use him. The Family Kamehameha unit's okay. This Gohan's okay, and then these 2 were the premium gets. So just an all right banner for a carnival. And then when we look at this banner, this one sucked. This is a huge L. 3 thumbs down. Like no thank you, right? This was a bad banner. This guy, very good. This guy, goated, right? Very good. Spopovich, pretty good. Everything else sucked, really. And this was a really bad banner. But at least they made up for that with the TUR level of pity, where you only had to get 1,000 stones on the banner or 200 coins, and then you were able to pull the character, and you also had 7 guaranteed featured steps. So that's very good. This banner was awful. The Rose Goku Black one. I don't know why the asset isn't loading, but really not much usable stuff here. Like, you're pretty good. You're a little bit underrated. You're pretty good. You suck. You're not that great. And then you're very good. So this was definitely the worst banner of the 4. And then the Blue Goku banner I thought was okay as well. We had Blue Goku, very good. The Gods, very good. Vegeta and Trunks, very good. Beast Gohan, pretty good. We Saiyans have no limits. Then we had this Super Saiyan trio here, and Gogeta really was hard countered by the new content, so not really a fan of how they handled this Gogeta character during the celebration. So unfortunately, he did feel like a bit of an L, but at the end of the day, it is 10th anniversary Super Gogeta, and that is pretty exciting. Then the physical, the 2 Super EZAs down here were very good as well. So high value banners, things that we are looking for. Like really, there's not too much to complain about in terms of this as well. Very good time to use your Dragon Stones. And that about sums up how I'm feeling for the GDC. So overall, right, I think the Global Dokkan campaign was very good. I'll probably do a video gauging what you guys thought of it and stuff like that later on. But where they really excelled was the differing in the difficult content, right? Characters fulfilling different roles, different strengths being highlighted by different events. I think that is the healthiest way to handle difficult content in Dokkan. I am not a fan of the MO of doing a one-size-fits-all team that no items everything. To me, the closest thing that we have to that right now is this Omega Shenron team. Even then, you can still lose. It didn't feel that way last year when we had the Beast Gohan team, where it was Evolution Blue Vegeta, UI Goku, Orange Piccolo, Physical Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta, Beast Gohan, right? Whatever mixture of Exploding Rage, or not Exploding Rage, but Miraculous Awakening, Bottom Master and Disciple, and Superheroes. any mixture of the Beast Gohan leader skill just made the game too easy, right? And this year, I don't think that is the case with GDC. I don't think it was the case with the 10th anniversary. There was always different ways for different characters to be highlighted, and that's one of the strengths that they've had so far in 2025. The summonable LRs, the most important thing, very well, 3 thumbs up, right? The handling of the Supreme Magnificent Battle I didn't like, and I thought that the content pacing was not that great either. So that is like where we are at, right? It's really good celebration, right? I definitely think overall GDC was a W, but I want to know what you guys think down below. Don't forget to leave a like if you did enjoy this one. Subscribe for your news. That way you don't miss out on any of my Dokkan content. Share this video with a friend if you want, all that fun stuff. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.